Hello everyone. Today we are learn about the story of my life. It was written by Helen Keller. Of course, it is an autobiographic story. First of all, we have to know that who was Helen. So, students, Helen Keller was a deaf and blind child. Although her disability, she was an American author, political activist, and lecturer. Now, the summary of the chapter 1. In this chapter, Helen wrote that she was born on June 27, 1880, in Tuscumbia, a little town of northern Alabama. Her family belonged from Switzerland, but Keller's grandfather bought a land in Alabama and their family settled there. Her father's name was Arthur H. Keller, who was a captain in the Confederate Army, and her mother was Kate Adams, who was many years younger to her husband. According herself, the place where she was born was a tiny house covered with vines climbing up roses, honeysuckles, and referred as a paradise of her childhood. In her childhood, till 1 year, everything was going happily, but her happiness did not last long. One day she fell ill, and the doctors termed it as an acute congestion of stomach and brain. They even thought that would not live. It was a mysterious fever which left her suddenly and mysteriously, but it took her eyesight along with it. With each passing day, her eyes turned dry and hot and became dimmer, and she felt silence all around. It was a nightmare. It her when she realized that she had lost her eyes and ears. The whole world to her was dark and silent. Clear? Next, the chapter of 2, and I will tell you the summary of this chapter. After a few months of her illness, Helen either sat in her mother's lap or clung to her dress, which she went about doing her household chores. She touched every object and observed every motion, thus enabling her to understanding the outer world. She started communicating using sign language. Such a shake of her head meant no, not meant yes. According Helen, in those days, Maratha Washington, who was the child of her cook, was her constant companion. Helen told that In this chapter, Helen told that her mother always sent her when they had guests and their home at their home, and she waved her hand to when they took their leave. But after some time, Helen started realizing that she was and different from others. She was different from others. She noticed that sign language was not used by other people, but they used their lips to talk. She used to touch their lips and then hers. Then she got angry. Why she got angry? She got angry because she was deaf. Helen described that she was a naughty girl. She used to kick her nurse, Ella, and dominated Martha Washington, who was her cook's daughter. So, because of Helen's disability, her parents saw it. As the parents, they were worried about Helen Keller, and they met with Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, who advised her father to contact Mr. Angles, director of the Perkins Institutes in Boston. Soon assuring letter came, and he wrote that a teacher had been found for Helen. That's all from chapter 1 and 2. Now I will start the point number 3, Advent of Miss Annie Sullivan. On 3rd March 1896, on 3rd March 1886, their month before of Helen's was 7 years old, Mr. Angus sent a teacher named Miss Annie Mansfield Sullivan. Helen wrote that it was the most important day of her life. Helen explained that she was like ship in a dense fog at sea, and her teacher, Miss Sullivan, was that person who gave light to her soul. Sullivan heard the speechless word of Helen, which was, "Give me light." She saw that the light of love in her teacher. Miss Sullivan held her close in her arms and gave a doll presented by the blind children from Perkins Institute. Sullivan wrote Helen's hand DOLL. Helen liked that process, and she started learning and spelling like pin, hat, cup. Finally, she understood that everything had a name, and each name gave a birth to a new thought. Next, point number 4, learning to read. A slow and often a painful process. Why it was a painful process? Because Helen Keller was a deaf and blind child, not a normal child. Like a normal child, she was unable to teach easily. It was a painful process for her, but for a little deaf and blind child it was very slow and painful process. Once Miss Sullivan touched her forehead and spelled with decided emphasis. Emphasis means greater attention. Miss Sullivan with greater attention touched her forehead, and she gave her a cardboard on which printed words in raised letter were written. She could arrange the words in the little sentence. For example, doll is on bed. It was her teacher's genius. Helen explained that Miss Sullivan's geniusness her first education year was so beautiful. Next point, it point number 5, learn to speak. Now Helen was it was in spring on of 1890 that Helen Keller learned to speak. She impulsed to utter audible sound and had always been very strong in her. She had known for a long time that people about her used different method and communication from her. In 1890, Mrs. Lamson, who had taught a deaf and blind child to speak in Norway, came to her and speak with her. With whom? Helen Keller. So Mrs. Lamson, who taught a deaf and blind child to speak in Norway, came to speak with Helen, and she met with her. After that, Miss Sullivan took her Miss Sarah to for advice and assistance. She offered her to teach her. Her process was very simple. She placed her hand lightly over her face and let her feel the position of her tongue and lips when she made a sound. Miss Fuller gave her 11 lessons in all. It was 11 lesson which was Miss Fuller gave her. Okay, now Helen Keller uttered her first corrected sentence. It was warm. They were broken and stammering syllables, but they were parts of human speech. Stammering, that means very difficult. Here, stammering means very difficult, but the syllabus was very difficult. But Helen and her teacher was completely covered it. Next point 6. Charge of plagiarism. Plagiarism means copy to other. Here, in the winter of 1890, Helen Keller wrote a little story, The Frost King, and sent it to Mr. Angus. Who was Angus? We read it before that Mr. Angus was the president of Institute of Perkins Institute, which was in Boston. Helen wrote the story The Frost King and sent it to Mr. Angus. When the story was finished, she read it to her teacher at dinner. It was read to the assembled family. Mr. Angus was delighted. He was delighted to read the story of Frost King, which was wrote by written by Helen Keller, and he published it in the reports of Perkin Institute. Later on, it was discovered that a story similar to the Frost King called The Frost Fairies by Miss Margaret Canby had appeared even before she was born. The two stories were so much alike in thought and language. It was It was evident that Miss Canby's story had been read to Helen. Her story was a plagiarism. Mr. Angus suspected that Miss Sullivan and Helen deliberately stolen the bright idea of another. The matter was brought before a court of investigation. Helen Keller was questioned and cross-questioned. Next point number 7. Visit to Niagara and the World's Fair. In March 1893, Miss Helen Keller with Miss Sullivan went to the Niagara Fall. It was difficult to describe Helen Keller's emotion when she stood at the point of which overhangs the American Falls. She felt the air vibrate and the earth tremble. Here, tremble means shake. Many people were surprised. They asked how she should be impressed by the wonders of beauties of Niagara, but Helen should felt it with her hearts and impressed by the wonders of beauties of Niagara. But Helen could fathom the beauty of music of Niagara as she could fathom for or define love or religion or goodness. During the summer of 1893, Miss Sullivan and Helen Keller visited the World's Fair with Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, and they passed under they entered the industry and all the activities of human life actually passed under her fingertips. The president of the World's Fair gave her permission to touch the exhibits. Next point 7, point number 8, preparation of Radcliffe College. Helen Keller's it was Helen Keller's desired to admit the college, and she was declaring that she would go to Harvard. The thought of going to college became an earnest desire of her, and she entered the Cambridge school to prepare for Radcliffe. She had a good start in English and French, but suffered serious drawbacks to her progress. Why she suffered? Because every classes had a lecture, and the lecture should be followed from the textbooks, and she would not able to read the textbooks. So that Miss Sullivan guided her, and she went with her the classroom and spelled into her hand with infinite patience all the teacher said. She took her parliamentary examination for Radcliffe in July 1897. She passed in everything and received honors in German and English. She began her second year at the Gilman School. She was full of hope and determination to succeed. Her preparation for college went to without interruption. She took her final examination in June 1899 for Radcliffe College. At last, her struggle for admission to college ended, but she entered Radcliffe only in the fall of 1900. Next point, number 9, reading. A pleasure of Helen Keller. It was a very passion of Helen Keller, reading. That Helen Keller told about herself that he had a passion of reading. She depended on books for pleasure and wisdom. She read many books, and she read her first story book in 1887 when she was just 7 years old. At first, she had only a few books in rest print. She read Our World. She read many books like Little Lord Fauntleroy was her favorite book. During the next few years, she read Greek heroes, fables, Bible stories, tales of Shakespeare, Robinson Crusoe and Hathi, The Jungle Book, The Wild Animals, etc. Next point, number 10, pleasure and amusement. Reading was not her only pleasure. Helen Keller's amusement and pleasure were many and varied. She wrote that she had love for country and outdoor sports. She learned to row and swim. Row means boating and swimming, and she was just a child. When she was just a child, she learned row and swim. She enjoyed canoeing. The moonlight night sailing was her favorite amusement. She had subconscious memory of green earth and murmuring waters. Blindness and deafness did not rob her of this gift, because she felt all of these things with her heart. She had a soul sense which sees hers. Here's right here she wrote that everything's of sense which sees, hears, feels all in one. Cycling was also one of her favorite pastimes. She loved the company of her dogs. During the rainy days, she amused herself indoor and liked to night cruised. She loved to frolic with children. Museum and art stores were also source of pleasure and inspiration of her. So going to the theater was a rare pleasure to her. The last point, number 11, men who shaped and influenced Helen Keller's life. Helen Keller showed her gratitude to her friends and acquaintances. Acquaintances means someone whom you know very much, and people who helped in shaping and modeling her life. No doubt here she should thankful first to her teacher, Miss Sullivan. She gave a new meaning, direction, and purpose to her life. Next, she would be thankful to Bishop Brooks, who was impressed upon her mind to great ideas and fatherhood of God and brotherhood to of man. Dr. Edward Hale was one of her very oldest friend. She had known him since she was 8. She would be very thankful to him also. Next, she would be thankful Dr. Graham Bell, who had the art of making every subject he touched interesting. Next, Helen Keller would be thankful to Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence Hatton. They introduced Helen to many their literary friends like Howells and Mark Twain. Mark Twain had his own way of thinking, saying, and doing everything. All these friends, acquaintances, and great figures made the story of her life and turned her limitation into beautiful privileges and opportunities. So all the points will be over here. Thank you.